Deep in the heart of the old city, where cobblestone streets twisted like a giant's forgotten puzzle, there stood the Clockmaker's workshop. Most people walked past it without a second glance. To them, it was just another shop with dusty windows and crooked wooden door. But for those who needed it most, the shop appeared at just the right time. On a drizzly afternoon, a girl named Calla pushed open its heavy door. A bell chimed overhead, though it didn't sound like a normal bell. It sounded like a whisper through time itself. Inside, hundreds of golden clocks ticked and talked, each one different. Some had 3 hands, some had none at all. Some spun backward, and others didn't move at all. And behind the grandest clock of them all, a tall silver one with no numbers, stood a man. He was thin, with glowing silver eyes and hands stained with golden dust. His coat shimmered like moonlight. "You're late," he said, smiling. Calla blinked. "Late for what?" The clockmaker pointed at the silver clock behind him. "For your destiny, of course." Calla frowned. "I was just looking for answers." The clockmaker nodded. "And that's exactly what you'll find." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver key. "This key," he said, placing it in her palm, "will take you to the moment you need to change." Calla's heart pounded. "Change?" she whispered. The clockmaker pointed behind her. There, on the wall, was a door that hadn't been there before. And at its center was a keyhole. Calla hesitated, the weight of the key pressing into her palm. There were so many moments she wished she could redo. But one stood out the most, the day her best friend left forever. She hadn't been brave enough to say what she wanted to say. She had let them go. With a deep breath, she inserted the key into the door's lock. Click! The moment the key turned, the room vanished. Whoosh! Colors swirled. Time twisted. And then, she was somewhere else. The cobbled streets were gone. The clocks had disappeared. She was standing in the middle of her childhood town, outside a familiar house. Her house. But it wasn't now. It was then. She had traveled back in time. Calla just turned the key. But what happens next? Will she really change the past? Don't miss part 2. Follow at Untold Bedtime Stories so you don't lose the magic.